Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I want to show you how to fix a harsh or thin electric guitar in your mix. We're going to be dealing with some harsh, thin electric guitars today, but before we dive in, if you're ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process step by step to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle and without any more of the guesswork. It is a completely free guide, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at this harsh and thin sounding electric guitar. I'm going to play you a little bit of the mix here without the guitar in, so you can kind of get a vibe of the song that we're mixing so far here. We're pretty much through the instrumental on this track. Haven't put the vocals in yet, just finishing up these lead guitars here. So I'm going to play you it without the guitar, and then I'll play you it with the guitar so you can kind of get an idea of how it's fitting in, and then I'll play you before and after on the guitar here. So here's without the guitar. That's what our track's sounding like. You can hear without the processing, our guitar is very, very thin sounding. It's pretty pokey and pretty harsh sounding because all we have is that really thin top end that's just piercing through our mix. What we're going to do with the processing here is lean more towards a darker guitar sound so we can roll off some of those harsh pokey highs and balance up some of the lower mid area to give our guitar that more full sound. It'll also help because we have acoustic guitars running the rhythm in our track, so we can get more of that low mid energy coming from our lead guitar without it feeling so muddy inside the track. Let's back up here and we'll take a listen one more time with the guitar inside the track, and we'll jump into our processing here. So what we're doing first on the track is pulling in an EQ. So let me disable everything here or bypass it, and we'll go plugin by plugin to build out this guitar mix here. What we're doing with our first thing here is rolling off some of the low end that we don't need, pulling out a little bit of the muddiness here at 250. Probably could have left that to let it get taken care of by something down the road, but just doing a little bit of shaping here on the front end and trying to pull up some of the mid-range that's going to help our guitar feel full but still sit right in the mix. So I'm trying to shift the frequency ranges away from that really, really harsh and pokey top end, and you'll see it. Well, you'll see it plucking through here on the track here. You can see where all that harshness is, all that pokiness that's coming through. Now, I don't want to just pull it down with an EQ because then I lose all of that forever, right? That's not going to come back when it's not too much. That's why we're going to use multiband. We're going to use it down the road here. So that's our first EQ, just doing a little bit of shaping there and trying to pull up some mid-range to compensate as we take care of that top end. Next thing we're doing is just a touch of compression here on some of those peaks to help sit them in the mix a little bit better. You could go more technical with the compressor you pick. I just threw in this 1176. Kind of emphasizes the attack a little bit on the strings, so it emphasizes that pick attack. Maybe not the greatest thing with that harsh top end. So like I said, you could get a little bit more involved with the compressor you pick. Maybe throw in a digital stock style compressor and make sure your attack takes care of that initial transient. Wasn't getting that involved there. This next EQ, just pulling out some of that low mid area in the mid range here. So take a listen to what that's doing. We've got our guitar kind of prepped now. We've got it shaped and sitting where we want it without having to take care or deal with that top end yet, right? So we've taken care of our low mids and kind of our mid range by boosting some of those frequencies. We've compressed it to get it even inside the mix here. Now we're going to take care of that top end harshness and balance our guitar overall. So what we're going to do is pull in a multi-band compressor. You've probably seen me use this tactic before on vocals or a couple different things, maybe drums before. We're using it here on an electric guitar that's too harsh inside of our mix. So I've split it into 3 different frequency ranges here. If we look back at our EQ, I'll hit play here in a second. You can see our guitar kind of divides itself into these 3 frequency ranges. We have everything below about 450 hertz. Then we have 450 hertz to about 2K, and then everything above 2K. So let me hit play here. Watch how you can see these natural divides in our guitar on the EQ. So those to me just looked like natural points that I could divide the frequency range into on the guitar here. So treat these 3 different frequency ranges separately from each other. Now, the settings on each band here are exactly the same. So 20-to-1 ratio, using it like a limiter, a brick wall limiter. We want to be able to bring this down and not have things getting past it. We want to be able to compress and set that level where we want it for each frequency range. Fastest attack, fastest release on each frequency range. So it'll grab those peaks, grab what we're pushing into that threshold, and let go of it so we're not holding onto it too long there. Same thing here, 20-to-1 ratio, fastest attack, fastest release. And again, same on the top end. So the idea here is we can pull this threshold down, this brick wall threshold, 20-to-1 ratio, and set each frequency range where we want it, and then balance them against each other, right? So we're starting here with the bottom end, so everything below 450 hertz. Take a listen to what this frequency range sounds like, and you can see the amount of compression we're doing on this bottom. You can see it's not doing much work in this middle area where our guitar thins out, but some of the lower lines where we have that bottom end in, we're doing our 3 to 6 dB of compression there, so we can balance it and pretty much pin our low end, our bottom end, where we want it. That way, we can balance, like I said, our other frequency ranges against it now. So let's move up to our mid-range here. So this is from 450 hertz to 2K. That's the range we're looking at now. Same settings here on the compressor, 20-to-1 ratio, 1 millisecond attack, and 10 millisecond release. So take a listen to what this frequency range sounds like, and you can see the amount of compression we're doing. A little bit more heavy compression on this mid-range here, but again, trying to set that frequency range where we want it so we can use the gain knob to balance it against the other frequency ranges. So now if we put these two in together, you'll hear they kind of work in harmony with each other. Now our tone doesn't jump around so much when he moves from lower licks like this to our higher pitched licks like we have here in the middle of the solo section. That's where we're trying to aim for with this multiband. Balance our different pieces of the frequency range on this guitar against each other so we can use pretty much just our gain knobs here to get each frequency range. Kind of like an EQ, right? Boosting and cutting these different frequency ranges. Now, top end here, everything above 2K, you can see this is where we're actually pulling in that gain knob to use it. This is everything above 2K, same settings again, 20:1 ratio, 1 millisecond attack, 10 millisecond release, and you can see how low our threshold is here, and you can see how much compression we're doing on this range. So we are destroying this top end with the multiband, but this is going to enable us to bring up our gain knob and just put that top end where we want it. It's not going to jump out. It's not going to be pokey. It's not going to become harsh in different sections. It's going to be right where we have it here, and it will never move from there. Now, we can do this with electric guitar. We can crush it with this much compression on electric guitar because any kind of distortion that we get from the multiband will just sound like distortion on the top end for our guitar here. So it's it's just a lucky instance that we're using our electric guitar here for the solo rather than acoustic like everything else is inside this track. So if you have an electric guitar that's too harsh, you can go a little bit too far with the multiband or de-essing on the top end and even get some distortion from it because it'll blend into your electric guitar sound. Now, let me put in our other frequency ranges here. So we got all three in here, and all we're doing on the top end is pulling the gain knob down 5 dB to balance it against the two other frequency ranges. So take a listen, all three bands in, but our top band is down 5 dB. You can hear we're opting for a darker tone on the lead electric guitar here, but it's a welcome change because what we have before is a very harsh, very thin, and very pokey style electric lead, which means we'll have to keep it very low in the mix because that attack is going to be very prominent. By opting for a darker tone here with our multiband and controlling that top end, we can bring our guitar up higher in the mix. And it being low midly by itself will get covered by the fact that it's the only electric guitar running in the mix, right? So it's going to provide low end and low mid to our guitar tracks, and it'll sit really nicely with our acoustic. So if we throw it in even just with our acoustic tracks here, we can hear how everything sits together now. And there's just one final EQ on the end of the guitar here, bringing up some 8K, so some of the really, really top end there to get some air on the guitar so it's not feeling so dark and like we just pulled a low pass filter in. Just a little bit more cleaning up on the bottom end so it's not too bottom end heavy there. We really did pin our bottom end, so we don't want all of that lower sub area to come up with that. And then a touch more of this mid-range area, and you can see again we're using that narrower Q so we're not bringing up any of this harshness or any of the mid-range that we don't want. Just a little bit more of this 1K area right here to help our guitar sit where we want it inside the mix. So take a listen before and after on this electric guitar inside the mix here. So we'll start before and then we'll kick everything in. So if you have a thin and pokey, harsh lead electric guitar, what you want to do, use your EQ and compression to get it shaped to begin with. So just some prep work there, and then pull in your multiband. Split your frequency ranges. I have it split into 3 different frequency ranges here, and then use your multiband to control each of those frequency ranges. And then once you've done that, you can use the gain knob for each band to set them against each other. So level them against each other. And then what this gives you is pretty much you're using it like an EQ, right? So if I want more top end, I just roll up the top end gain and set the top end where I want it inside the mix. So it's not too harsh, but we have enough of that top end that we can hear it and distinguish it inside the mix. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you are ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.